Yeah, thank you.
Uh, uh, I'm very much great privileged in introducing Lakshmanan sir to this great forum. Before getting into his session, sir, with your permission, please.
Yes, please.
Yes. So, Dr. Lakshmanan M received the Bachelor of Engineering degree in Electronics and Communication Engineering from Madras University and Master of Engineering degree in Communication Systems from Anna University and his PhD degree from VIT University. Currently, he is working as a professor and head of the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering and Dean Research at Galgottias College of Engineering and Technology, Greater Noida, Uttar Pradesh, India. He has more than 18 years of experience in teaching and 12 years in research. He is a senior member in IEEE and UACEE. He is a fellow in IETE and IEI. He is also a life member of ISTE, ACM, IAC, SIT, and various forums. He has published 71 papers in reputed journals and conferences, among which they are Science Citation Index and ACIE and Scopus Index. He has 4 patents published in India and 2 patents granted in Australia. He has delivered several keynote talks and invited lectures in faculty development programs, workshops, seminars. He is an active reviewer in various ACI and Scopus indexed journals. He has received the Best Researcher Award in International Excellence Award in 2021 and the Award of Emerging Leader for the contribution and achievement in the discipline of engineering in Higher Education Leadership Meet in 2018. Also, he has received Active Researcher Award many times from VIT University. His current area of research interest includes wireless communication and networks, security algorithms, digital communication, information coding theory, signal and image processing, deep learning, and machine learning. Sir, we are delighted to have you for this session in this Atal FDP, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you for a nice introduction for this FDP program. First of all, I thank management of KLN College and Dr. Logan Durai and Dr. Jnanambal for inviting me for this keynote talk on necessity of deep learning in smart grid. Uh, So hopefully you have gone through 3 days hectic schedule of attending this FDP program, and finally we have come to the application part of deep learning. Um, Application part of deep learning in a particular domain of electrical engineering, which is called the smart grid. So smart grid. Hopefully, everyone has been aware about the grid technology, which is the traditional grid technology, which can be, which will have so many drawbacks. Now, we are moving out of this traditional grid technology into a smart one using the newly emerged, not we can say it as newly emerged technology. It's a old technology, but we are using it in the uh, modern era of engineering, science and engineering. We are using this tool called AI, and this becomes much more popular now, not in the earlier days of 90s. It becomes much more popular in the current era of engineering. So we are utilizing the old technology in a newer version. So that's why it's become much more interesting and much more popular to each and every one. So in this regard, we will, before starting this directly to the session, let me share the screen now. Is it visible, right? Or I think my screen is visible and my PPT is visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So let me put it in the slideshow. So the topic which it has been given to me is the necessity of deep learning in smart grid. So why? What is the necessity for deep learning in smart grid? So directly, I don't want to go into deep learning into the first. I will go to the necessity of artificial intelligence first, and then why we are requiring deep learning, particularly for any kind of application nowadays. That I will come to that one. Then I will enter into the smart grid, and then I will enter into what is the usefulness of deep learning in the smart grid, which is some small prediction model I will have been taken as a sample. And then I will finally conclude my slide with some research and research challenges and its possible solutions, which most of the researchers are focusing on to it using this deep learning. That would be my conclusion of today's presentation. So my outline of the presentation, which starts with the introduction of artificial intelligence, and then I will move on to learning. And in learning, there are two types of learning is there. One is machine learning, which is a subset of artificial intelligence, and then we will be moving on to the deep learning, which is a subset of machine learning. And finally, we will move on to the neural networks, which is the method we are using it in the deep learning. And then after having this introduction, we will move on to the smart grid, and then we will be moving on to the benefits of smart grid and challenges and possible solutions in a generalized manner I will discuss. After that, the most important factor is wherever you need the demand. So we have to, there is a supply and demand chain is there. So we cannot produce the supply as it is. Whenever the demand rises, then only we will be moving on to the any development of any technique or a technology or a methodology we will be developing based on the demand requirement. So what is the demand available, and based on the demand response in smart grids, and then how we are going to use this deep learning for the demand response and smart grids. And then I will have told you that I will be taking a predictions model as a sample, and then I will explain you how the deep learning concept has been applied on a smart grid application. And then we will move on to a research challenges and solutions for different challenges that occurs in the smart grid and possible solutions. It is not the actual solution. It is a possible solutions where the most of the researchers are focused on. And finally, I will give you the applications of AI in smart grid. Whether we can call it as AI or deep learning, more or less both are same, because AI is the subset of machine learning. Machine learning is the subset of artificial intelligence, whereas deep learning is the subset of machine learning. So let us focus on artificial intelligence. There are so many common definitions are there for AI. One is AI, they will call it as AI is intelligent because it will learns. And then second person will say that AI transforms the data into knowledge. And third person will say that AI is about intelligent problem solving. So, and a few others will say that AI embodies the ability to adapt to the environment, which can cope up with incomplete or incorrect knowledge. So even the knowledge level is not good, or the knowledge level is not available, or any trained data set is not available, we can able to train the system using unsupervised learning. So there are a lot of various definitions. We are using it for definition of AI, but my focus will take on to this AI is intelligent because it learns. So my focus are always towards the learning methodology. So learning, what do you mean by learning? It is a progressively increasing the ability of a system. That is, the ability of the system has to be increased progressively. That is called as learning. For example, from our early childhood days, when we born and when we are now, we started learning, or we started improving our ability in a progressive manner. The same way learning is also for a system, also the same way. As the day progresses, the ability of the system will increase. So that's why we are calling this type of system as a learning system, and we are using it as machine learning, deep learning. There are so many names we are using it. I already told you deep learning is the subset of machine learning. Machine learning is the subset of artificial intelligence. If you take deep learning, which is we cannot define the terms from deep learning to artificial intelligence. We have to define it from artificial intelligence to deep learning. But when you are writing it as a subset, deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Machine learning is the subset of artificial intelligence. What do you mean by artificial intelligence? Whatever we are having, that is the human entity or the living entity. When we mimic that intelligence or the behavioral patterns of any living entity, then it is called as the artificial intelligence. Then what is machine learning? So for mimicking this intelligence or the behavioral pattern, we require some kind of learning methodology. That is a technique by which a computer can learn from data without using a complex set of different rules. Without any complex rules, if you're able to, computer makes us to learn from the data, then it is called as the machine learning. This can be done based on a training a model from the different data sets. And next one is deep learning. What is deep learning? A technique to perform machine learning that is inspired by our brain's own network of neurons. So here we have told that learning without any complex set of different rules. How these type of learning can be done? There are the various statistical approaches are there, and one of the approach is the deep learning approach, where a technique to perform this machine learning, which can be based on our brain's functionality, our human brain's functionality. Based on that, we will perform this type of learning that is called as the deep learning. It's a layered architecture. So this is about the machine learning. So it's a most common AI techniques that has been used, which is a self-adaptive algorithms, which can increase better analysis and patterns with experience, or it can be with the help of the newly added data. And always this program is an adaptive nature, so which can adapt to the new data independently of the human action. Without any human intervention, it can automatically adapt it over there. And then it's a complex algorithm which is built into a computer, which makes the machine to identify the data, and automatically it will be predicting around those identified data, right? And another process of this machine learning is it is useful in analyzing a lot of information which is consistently and readily available in the world. There are a lot of informations available in the world which we have to analyze it in making some particular decision. That's why this is also helpful in making the decisions. Machine learning also helpful in making the decision by analyzing the lot of informations which are readily available in the world. And now comes your deep learning, which is a subset of machine learning, and it's a hierarchical level of artificial neural networks to carry out the process of machine learning, which consists of different layers will be there. So you will have hierarchical structure will be there. So which I am not going into explaining about deep learning. Already so many sessions have been done on deep learning. Just I am giving a brief explanation about the deep learning, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. And different names we will be using it: deep structured learning, deep neural learning, deep neural network. So these are the different terminologies we will be using it for the deep learning. Most conventionally used one is the deep neural network, DNN. They will be using it in, if you Google it, you will get a lot of information about it. DNN is the conventional methodology. When you are using it as DNN, what do you mean by there is a difference between a DNN or the deep learning and simple artificial neural network. So if you take simple artificial neural network, so if you take a simple artificial neural network, means it consists of only one hidden layer. So this is a simple artificial neural network which consists of one hidden layer only. But when you have more than one hidden layer, if you had more than one hidden layer, then this will be called as DNN, deep neural network, right? So this more than one hidden layer is used for the training purpose, so that the accuracy and the stability will be improved. Then we can go for this DNN, which is having more than one hidden layers. And in deep learning, the learning can be supervised, semi-supervised, or unsupervised. What do you mean by what do you mean by supervised? Supervised learning will be done from the labeled data. Already the data will be labeled, trained data will be labeled, and using those labeled data, we can able to classify something. We can do any classification analysis or regression analysis. So with the supervised, we can do some classifications. If you want to do classify, and then if you want to do any regression analysis, then we will go for supervised. And when we will go for unsupervised, where we will be having unlabeled data, and at the same time we can this can be used for unlabeled data, or the training can be done without humans intervention, then we can go for unsupervised. Where we can apply this unsupervised is whenever you require it in the form as clustering the data, we can use this one, clustering the data. And when we want to make some association, then we can use this type of unsupervised learning. And similarly, whenever you want dimensionality reduction, when you want to do some reduction analysis, then we can go for unsupervised. You're reducing from a large data set to a smaller data set, we can go for unsupervised. And semi-supervised, which they can use it for which falls in between supervised and unsupervised. So semi-supervised will come under for wherever we are having medical image applications like lung cancer detection, lung cancer detection, and now COVID detections and all will be based on this semi-supervised learning. So this deep learning, which is what is the major advantage of this deep learning is whatever the human, it requires decades to understand and understand and process the data, which can do it in a very short span of time. That's why we are moving towards deep learning, right? And ANN is the concept which we are using it inside deep learning. When you are having one hidden layer, it is a simple artificial neural network. When you have more than one hidden layer, it will become a deep neural network. And this is always, ANN is always inspired by the information processing and the distribution communication nodes in the biological systems. It looks like a human brain with a numerous number of nodes connected together like a web. Human brain, it will be numerous number of neurons interconnected together. And ANNs, which have various differences between biological brains. So some differences are there. One is neural networks will tend to static and symbolic, but wherever our human biological brain is of dynamic and analog. And another difference is traditional programs will build the analysis with data in a linear way, whereas the deep learning system will approach or process the data in a non-linear way. And there are some limitations of the neural networks are there. So we know that now the whole world is migrating towards the neural networks and deep learning, which is the state of the art of AI today. So that's why we are going towards AI or the neural networks or the deep learning, but still it is a far shot from the human intelligence. It cannot behave like a human intelligence. So neural network will fail at many things that are expected from a human mind, such as neural networks needs a lot of data to have an accurate prediction. And neural networks will be bad at generalizing. It cannot generalize it in a specific way, and it's always opaque in nature, which cannot be transparent, which is always opaque in doing its process, right? These are the basic introduction about the AI, machine learning, and the artificial intelligence. Now we will move on to our major focus. Directly, I'm not going into deep learning on smart grid. First of all, we will see the small differences, some introduction about the smart grid and how deep learning approach is helpful in the smart grid. So before that, this is the traditional grid, which is a bidirectional communication line of network between the consumers and the utility. So consumers and the utility means wherever the electricity lines which we are going to utilize it, any type of utility like consumer utilities. That is a bidirectional communication line between the consumer and the utility is a traditional grid. Nowadays, the most common disturbance in our electrical engineering is electrical disturbances, which causes a series of failures. So there is the electrical disturbances, so much problems are there. That's why they are moving towards this smart grid technology, which is implemented on various artificial intelligence approach. So why we are focusing on to this artificial intelligence approach means we are making the traditional grid technology moving towards the smart grid. So if you are moving to the smart grid, what are the things which we can give permissions is, one is we are giving the permissions for supervising, investigating, organizing, and communication. All four permissions we are giving it to the automation. That is, we are giving it to the artificial intelligence within the supply chain to assist progressive effectiveness. Why this we are giving it this permission, these four permissions: supervising, investigation, organization, and communication. All the things we are giving it to the in the form of artificial smartness, that is artificial intelligence, which shrinks the energy utilization. One advantage is energy utilization will be shrink, as well as the cost also will be reduced. And not only this, the shrinking of energy utilization and cost, and another one is you make best use of the transparency and reliability of the energy supply chain. We are increasing the transparency and reliability. These are all the things which we are achieving it when we are moving our grid technology into a smart manner, right? So overcomes the lot of drawbacks of the traditional electrical grids, where the smart net meters concept will come into picture. Not only concentrates on the utilities and the technologies, I told you it is not only concentrating on the utilities, right, and the technologies, and a few more things which focuses on the consumer choices regarding their consumption of electrical energy. For some person, the electrical energy requirement is high, and for few consumers, the consumption of electrical energy will be less. So it depends on the consumer choices, so that it will access in the smart way. So it's not only focuses on the utilities and the technologies, it focuses on consumption of electrical energy given by the choice of a consumer. And this is a simple layout of a smart grid where all the users, consumers, one is from thermal power plant, city and buildings, solar power plant, smart houses, wind power plant, and electrical vehicle, nuclear power plant, and factories, where all the utilities requires the electrical energy, which can be controlled through a control center, and each one is interlinked through your transmission links, and it will be from the all the transmission links will be interlinked to a control center, where we will be employing all kind of smart approaches like artificial intelligence, deep learning, and everything. So totally it's a new concept for all the researchers in the world in comparison with the traditionally electricity grids. So what happens? The entire electrical flow system is renovated. So how it was renovated? A mixture of information and all the digital communication approaches by means of power grid systems to facilitate two-way communications and power flow that boost the safety, reliability, and effectiveness of the power scheme. Just as a few slides before, I have told you about the transparency and the reliability. Not only transparency and the reliability, because of the smartness, one more important thing is security is also increased. What do you mean by security? Anomaly deduction or anomaly taking out of the electrical energy can be avoided. That is, the third party intruder of taking out the electrical energy can be avoided when we boost the safety. How can we boost the safety? Is using this smart approach on the traditional power grid, right? So in addition, we can say that the smart grid is an arrangement of tools, systems, and procedure to manufacture power grid intelligent and computerized. So we have to manufacture a power grid where this power grid is an intelligent and computerized, where we need some kind of extra tools, software tools are required, which is your artificial intelligence tool or a deep learning tools or machine learning tools. And based on that, we are creating a system and the procedures so that we are manufacturing the power grid in terms of intelligence and computerized. That is the smart grid. And due to huge amount of data collection in each and every moment from the different sources. So there are various sources are there. So we need to collect the data from each and every place. Due to this, for all the power companies, we have to take the responsibility. Directly, we cannot manufacture a smart grid and we can put it in the commercial use. First of all, the power companies has to change out their methodology, because the traditional power grids are also given by the power companies, as well as a similar way some will be using smart grids. So in case we cannot completely transform our traditional grid into a power grid. So first of all, there is a, if you want to implement smart grid, there is a huge amount of data collection is required. When huge amount of data collection is required, all the power companies should take the responsibility of the collected data and find out the clear knowledge about the electricity consumption behaviors. It has to understand the knowledge about the electricity consumption behaviors from each type of data which we collected from various sources of places. Right, I have written my own simple block diagram based on this content. I have converted this into a small amount of a diagram, small diagram. So from the wind park, we need to collect the data, and solar, we will be collecting the data, and similarly biomass from the garbage waste and everything, we will be collecting the data, and which is given to a local grid, right? And this will be continuously monitored. And similarly, there will be a communication from the local grid to the national grid, it will be communicated. But from the local grid, it will be communicated for the inside that smart metering system has to be there based on who is consuming the more energy, who is consuming less energy, it has to be identified. And the same grid has to be given to the consumer, as well as this grid will be used for the energy storage for the future purpose, right? So this is these are the things which we can take it as this one. So from each renewable sources, right, and it is a distributed renewable energy source. Distributed energy source will be there, and renewable energy source and the distributed energy source, which we can take it out from that one, and it will be given to the local grid. So these are the things which has to be done, and this monitoring has to be done on this local grid in terms of the smart grid. So if this is similar to your traditional grid, when we employ the smartness over into it, it will become a smart grid. That's it. So now for this one, we need to extract the data from, when you convert this local grid into a smart grid, whatever the data we have taken it from the wind park or from the solar power supply, from the distributed energy source, and from biomass from the municipal solid waste or the garbage waste which we taken it from, all these data, the smart local grid, that smart grid, what it has to do is it has to apply the deep learning algorithm. Why it has to apply the deep learning algorithm? In case of the smart grid, for example, I am not concentrating on machine learning using statistical regression analysis. Now I am narrowing down from artificial intelligence into deep learning. So in case of deep learning, what you require is, what do you mean by deep learning? Deep learning is helpful in classifying the data, first of all. So first of all, we need to extract what are the features we need to extract. First of all, there are a lot of features will be there, like cost factor, energy consumed factor, everything will be called as a different features, right? So from each portion, we will extract the different few, that is, which has to extract the features. That can be done with the help of deep learning algorithm. Not only feature extraction, the data also analysis also will be carried out by this deep learning algorithm. So automatically, most of the studies we will be doing it in the smart meter data analysis, smart meter data for the smart grid analysis, and it will be having, for instance, load outline. So how much load is to be given, and the customer classification, which customer is using large amount of energy, which customer is using small amount of energy. And instance load outline means how much load has to be allotted, heavy load is there or low load is there. And load prediction, based on that, load prediction also has to be done. When the load will be highly utilized during the peak hours, when the load will be minimized, minimal utilization will be there, will be in the non-peak hours. That has to be done. When the load will be utilized, what will be the timeline for it, that has to be done. And the fourth one is anomaly detection. That is the third party intruder who is taking out the energy. So based on all these analysis has to be carried out in the deep learning algorithm, can be efficiently can be done, right? And for doing improved understanding of electrical utilization, what we require it, not only the analysis, we need to have a flexible demand management that also has to be incorporated. So we cannot have a fixed demand. So based on, we have to give the demand management also has to be done, and simultaneously it should be a flexible demand. It should be adaptive nature. And useful energy control, smart meter data analysis also essential. Not only apart from this, these are also required for consideration to successfully implement the smart grid. So I will take one example from the United States Department of Energy. They are using 4 types of technology to implement or to use this advancement in the smart grids. They have implemented these 4 technologies in the United States they are using it. In their Department of Energy, they are using this. One is technologies regarding measurement and intelligence, that they are using it, one technology. And second approach what they are using is automated flow of communication between the electrical grid and their integrations. So grid integrations, they are using automated flow of communication. One is measurement and intelligent technologies regarding measurement intelligent, they are using it. And another one is automated flow of communication. And third one is, this is another one which is very important for divisions, like electrical divisions are there, for divisions and repairing. Whenever any fault has occurred, repairing, that they are using it in the computerized controlled mechanism, they are using it. And fourth one is organization management dashboards and decision support software is enhanced. They are having the high-end softwares and high-end organization management dashboards are there. So these are the 4 different technologies that has been used in the United States Department of Energy in their advancement of smart grids. Right? What would be the benefits of the smart grid? There will be some benefits, and there will be for any technology there will be some benefit. There will be any challenges will be there. So what would be the benefit is electricity flow of transmission will be more proficient. That is the major advantage of smart grid. And whenever power disturbances of electricity arises, smart grid approaches will give you the quicker solution. So whenever you are going to, there is a disturbance, already we will be feeding some data of possible set of data how the power disturbances of the electricity arises, which will be fed as a trained data. So automatically when a new power disturbance comes, automatically the smart grid, what it will do is it will automatically analyze its power problem, and it will give you the proper solution to the humans, and automatically we can use our linemans to sort out that problems. So it will, and another smart grid, another benefit of smart grid approach is it requires only minimum power and operation cost for the consumers, because it is adaptive nature based on the train set. When the consumer requires high power, when the consumer requires minimum power, we are able to give it. And similarly, if based on this, automatically they are saving the cost for paying the electricity charges. So cost wise also, operation cost also reduced. And reduced peak demand, which also helps the lower electricity rates. Reduced peak demand will be there. And there will be one more, customer owner relation is good. So improved bonding of customer owner power generation systems, counting renewable energy systems. And finally, the most benefit of this one is security feature is enhanced, so that the third party intruder cannot indulge in any kind of activities. That is any kind of illegal activities that can be avoided. But simultaneously, when you are having so many benefits, there will be some challenges will be there for the smart grids. So what are the challenges we are facing it in the smart grids is, that is one of the most prominent challenges. There are numerous benefits are there. So a few major challenges is, there is smart grids occupies a lot of stakeholders. So a lot of stakeholders means it's about the stakeholders in the electricity boards, right? There will be a dissimilarity aspect of the energy systems. We cannot use the same methodology for everywhere. So dissimilarity is there. So whatever your government is planning, or any company is planning to implement something, so synchronization and rate of adoption, it will not take place at a faster rate. It will be happens at a diversified rate. It will not access the same pace. It will access in the diversified paces, which means some differences will be there. Differences in rate of adoption as well as in the synchronization also. It will take more time to adapt to this one. And the second one is the vast investment for the infrastructure and the new devices. On one day, we cannot replace complete traditional devices and infrastructure into a smart nature. So that's why it's a very difficult or a hurdle. We can say it is a hurdle to adopt it to the new smart grid methodology. And then other one is the regulatory bodies and the jurisdictional problems are there, which we need to overcome that one. And possible solution is, I'm talking about this is challenges. These are the challenges which we are facing it in the practical implementation. And major problem in that technical part is we can't be able to implement this deep learning algorithm or the AI, any kind of smart approach. There are technicality issues are also there. So those technicality issues can be sorted out by the different researchers. They are concentrating on so many experiments based on artificial learning and machine learning methods. But still it is a challenging factor. So novel model to solve out all these complex problems on the smart grids cannot be solved by the direct machine learning methods. Machine learning methods are two approaches are there. So one approach is statistical and another one is the deep learning approach. These both are coming under machine learning approach. Traditional machine learning approach will be statistical approach. Using statistical approach, we cannot able to find out any solution for the complex problems in the smart grid. But deep learning can deep learning can be used for smart grid to sort out so many complex problems because of its ability to adapt to the new set of trained data. Statistical approach will go in a statistical way. It cannot adapt to the situation based. So whenever here in our case of grid technology, it will be more or less, it is not a fixed method. It will be based on some necessity of the consumers. We have to change our situation. So in that case, deep learning is more suitable rather than the other traditional machine learning approaches. So the advantage is we can increase the number of layers in the artificial neural networks. So once you increase that number of layers, your accuracy rate and the predictability rate and the decision rate, it will be increased in case of the deep learning approaches. That's why deep neural networks, from that word we drive the world called deep learning. One of the most possible solution is this one, right? So this algorithm will have a lot of applications in the smart grids due to many hidden layers are there and numerous problems required to be studied in deepness. So there are three things are there. Directly, we cannot apply our deep learning algorithm by increasing the number of hidden layers. It is not only depends only on the layers. We need to use what type of structure is required, whether we require backpropagation network or feed-forward network. What structure is required for deep learning? That is one. And second one is how many layers are appropriate. We cannot use 3 layers or 7 layers or 8 layers, right? So we need to, for a particular problem, how many layers are required to have to find out the accurate result or the proper result or the proper prediction. So how many layers are appropriate, that also required. And third thing is concentrate on the security of the power system. That is also required. So directly, we cannot use deep learning as it is. We have to be very more precise about in finding out what structure is required, how many hidden layers are required, and we have to focus on the security of the power system. These are all the 3 things we have to keep it in mind to choose the proper deep learning algorithm for your input of for your smart grid system. And one of the approach, the commonly used approach is LSTM. So whomsoever is working on neural networks, they know this one. One is called CNN approach, and another one is called as RNN approach, and another one is from this RNN, this LSTM will come. These are the different approaches are there. So this is simple feed forward network. This is a simple feed forward network is CNN, and RNN is not a feed forward, it's a feed forward network, but here the data will not be whatever the output be computed, which we are not feeding into it to the system once again. But in recursive, this is RNN is recursive neural network where the data can be feeded once again into the system. That is RNN. And LSTM is the subversion of this RNN. So what is the difference between RNN and LNN is, LSTM is, here RNN can store the data or store the informations on a temporary basis. Store on a temporary basis. Whereas LSTM, it has a memory module. It has a memory module where it can store the data for some period of time. Longer period of time, not some period, some longer period of time we can store this data over there. That is long and short time memory, right? So this is LSTM. Some period of time we can able to store it. That period of time we can able to define it or design it based on the memory module what you are going to design it over here, right? That is LSTM, which is a subclassification of RNN. So a common model in the field of deep learning and more suitable for smart grid is LSTM, right? So an improved version of RNN, recursive neural network. Characteristic of LSTM already I have defined it. It uses the memory modules instead of the common hidden nodes. Here, how RNN is storing the temporary data is, it is due to the some hidden nodes, right? And in case of LSTM, it uses a memory module so that will be stored for a period of time, right? So it uses the memory module so that the gradient will not disappear or expand after passing through many steps. Gradient means, what do you mean by gradient? Gradient is nothing but some deviations, right? So that deviations will not disappear or expand after passing through deviations, or you can call here in our terminology, you can call it as delays, right? That will not disappear. So whatever the data, it will be stored in a particular period of time. So it will not disappear or expand after passing through many steps, which is more difficult in RNN. So that is overcome over here. So I given it here. Processing and predicting important events with relatively long intervals and the delays in the time series will be done with the help of LSTM network. So to predict the power load, it's very much helpful in case of smart grid. That is, LSTM will be helpful. This is the tabular column, like load sequence, climate characteristics, holiday characteristics, economic characteristics can be taken as the input parameter, and it can be put it in the input matrix, and this has been given to the LSTM modules, right? If you are not giving these LSTM modules, this will become an RNN network, right? So if you add over an RNN network, if you connect LSTM modules, it becomes your LSTM network, right? And that given, and based on this, the prediction will be done. Whatever the forecasting we want to predict it, forecasting it, that can be predicted as that is forecasted as the output. Whatever the power load we have to predict it, that can be predicted with these kind of, some examples I have given it. It is not the complete all the examples. Some examples I have given it over here, right? And there are a lot of challenges are there applying artificial intelligence to the smart grids. Artificial intelligence means directly it is a neural network. Insufficient data sample accumulation. One of the most important drawback is this one. Insufficient data sample accumulation. And particularly whether it is deep learning or AI, whatever the thing, we have to have more number of sample datas, more number of sample datas. Then only our output result will be perfect. Whatever the prediction, that will be perfect when we had more number of samples. When we got it, then only we can able to successfully predict, or we can able to predict with good accuracy, right? So we are problem is insufficient data sample accumulation is there. That's why this problem has arises. And application of mass data, that is the application of the mass data in the smart grid, is still in the initial stage. So data accumulation in various application scenarios is different. One application is different. For example, if it is go to a home, it will be a different data accumulation is required. When you go to the industry, it will be data accumulation is different. When you go for solar, data accumulation is different. Whether it is whatever the data we are collecting it from the power generation unit, whatever we are distributing it to the consumers, both are different. So accumulation of the data is going to be the difficult task in the smart grid. So this is one drawback, and the second one is the reliability needs to be further improved. So reliability need to be improved. Therefore, AI technology is a new technology. We can apply it everywhere, but there will be high level of identification rate for problems and faults is there. But when you go for the practical application, it cannot meet the requirements. So reliability has to be improved. So you can have high detection rate, high fault rate, fault rate can be identified. But when you implement that in a real-time situation, in a practical application, it has a lot of challenges are there. So reliability needs to be improved. And third one is infrastructure. Directly we cannot remove the traditional and we can apply the smart grid. So application of AI is based on abundant data samples and advanced computing power and distributed communication collaboration. Supporting capacity and level of relevant infrastructure resources are there. The first itself is there, insufficient data sample accumulation. When you have sufficient data is available with you, we need to store that data in a cloud server. So cloud server is a major problem. That is also has to be taken into account. And when you are having a large amount of data, we need to do data analysis. For that, big data is required. And when you are going to collect the data from different sources, different platforms are there. So distributed collaboration platform need to be improved. All these three infrastructures have to be improved. Then only we can have successful implementation of AI onto the smart grids. And another one is lack of power industry specific algorithms. We know that algorithm is basis of AI, but how that algorithm is efficient or not, which we have to compare it with the perception, prediction, security, maintenance, adaptability of the algorithm in a power system is weak, is still weak. We cannot have a industry specific algorithms is not at all available. So one of the key points, the researchers, what as a researcher or as a faculty, what we need to do is we have to improve the basic algorithm, and we have to propose a special intelligent algorithm for the power system that fit into the characteristics of the industry. So we need to talk to the industry people, power industry people, and we need to find out what is their requirement. Based on their requirement, whatever the algorithms we are having it in the AI, which we need to make it much more intelligent to meet their industry needs. So as a researcher, we have to focus our research onto the industry requirement. Then automatically we can able to solve out this problem, lack of power industry specific algorithms. So finally, what is the purpose of this one is smart grid is which we need not creating the power generation unit and the consumer side into a smart grid. We have to integrate smart grid with other smart areas like this. So not only directly from power generation units, previous diagram I have shown you one smart grid structure, which is different generation units and different consumers I have integrated into a smart. Ultimately, our focus is not that one. What we need to do is we have to make different smart into integrate all the smart things into a smarter way, right? Smarter becomes smarter, right? You have to make each component as a smarter one, and finally these smarter systems have to be integrated to become more smarter. This is our focus has to be there. So for example, if you want to make smart electrical vehicles, it is not only based on the electrical vehicle movement. Communication delays has to be reduced. We have to focus on communication delays. We have to focus on routing protocols. We have to focus on cyber security. Then only whatever the electrical vehicles which we have created now, we can make smarter. Right? Similarly, you are having a traditional hydraulic plant where we have to concentrate on distributed energy resources, distributed generation, energy efficiency, sustainability standards. So which all these have to be considered, and if you make a hydraulic power plant, then it will become a smarter one. Similarly, smart building, smart city. Now our government is focused on smart city. So that's everyone is going on to the smart city now. Smart homes, advanced metering infrastructure, energy storage and grid integration can be there. Right? So this will be the smarter. Most of the research, what we are doing it with the deep learning, we are fixing it with this smart city only. And whatever we are doing it, we are fixing it with the smart thermal power plant. We are fixing it with the smart factories. Now this smartness also has to be controlled through a smart control center, right? So that we have to focus it in the future. So for all these things, the most important terminology what we are using is the demand. Based on the demand only we can able to fix our requirement, what we require it in the smart grids, right? So that's why we are most if you go to the research papers and all, they will be focused on this word called demand response. DR everywhere it will be there, which is called a demand response. So which we have to maintain the demand supply chain, supply trade-off in the load management system. This is the most important factor which we need to consider it, particularly in the power line communications. So DR model has come into existence. So when why they are going for this one is the reduction of what if you implement this DR model where we can able to reduce the energy consumption by the consumers during the peak hours. So here what we have to do is, as an engineer, we have to use our brain how to reduce the energy consumption during the peak hours. So when we do this one, that type of model is called as the DR model. Any method you can use it, right? So that's why this model is called as the DR models. Ultimately, the objective of this model is to reduce the energy consumption during the peak hours. So one example I will give you for this DR model is, so customers can choose to shed the non-essential loads by themselves. So consumers themselves can shut down. For example, in your home, if no one is there, if only one room is utilized, you can switch off the power supplies of all the rooms in a smarter way, right? That can be implemented through this DR model. And otherwise, this can be shed by the consumers themselves if it becomes a manual, or it can be automatically done by the utility during the peak hours. If you done it automatically, it becomes smart. If it is manual, it is not smart. So DR model can be utilized for smart as well as non-smart grid natures, right? And then power consumption, automatically power consumption can be another way is power consumption can also be reduced during the peak hours of the day. When it can be reduced, once we have reduced the power consumption during the peak hours, one is operating cost will be reduced, one is installation cost also will get reduced, and ultimately smart grid failures can be avoided. So ultimately due to this, we are having benefit in reducing the power cost, installation cost, and ultimately we can stop the SG failures, we can stop it. So ultimately what happens, what is this one is, we are going to make an agreement between the customers and the utility based on the certain conditions like time interval, price, and load. These are the three main factors which we are going to. Agreement means which is nothing but a rule. Don't say that like an MOU kind of thing, which is a rule. Because all your DNN algorithms, which will have some protocols or algorithms. Protocols or algorithms are required for any DNN, which is governed by some kind of rules or entities. which is governed by some kind of rules or entities. So that is framed as an agreement that will be done between the customers and the utility based on the time intervals, price factor, and load factor, right? And automatically, if this is fine, ultimately we have to, our outcome should be which leads to the lower cost of electricity, which leads to the overall reduction of the retail prices. I'm not telling about DNN here. Just a simple thing I have told it. Our outcome will be reduction of the retail prices. So all the companies nowadays encouraging this model, DR model, right, by offering lower electricity prices. This is one DR model, offering a lower electricity prices during not peak hours to encourage the customers to shed non-essential loads during the peak time. This is the concept of DR model. Is not a concept, which is one of the method. Most of the companies are encouraging by this method, offering low electricity prices during the non-peak hours when the customers reduce the non-essential loads during the peak time. Already United States have implemented this one. Now our country has to implement this one. We are successfully, completely, if they have implemented this one, automatically our subscription or payment rate also will get reduced. Next one, how we can implement this deep learning on this DR and smart grids, right? So I have taken it so many things from the research papers only, not from anything else. So there are a lot of deep learning algorithms, how they have been utilized. Some kind of 3 to 4 models I have given it here. Out of all these models, I have picked one model for explaining it, prediction model, based on CNN networks, right? So this is effective DR system. If you want to make an effective DR system, we have to take the data patterns, load consumption data patterns with the present time adjustment. We have to take that one. From the data pattern, we have to extract, we need to extract from so many available data patterns, we need to extract a precise load consumption pattern, right? This is the concept of deep learning. If you want to design an effective DR system, there will be lot of patterns, data patterns will be there, D1, D2, etc. up to Dn. These many patterns will be there. Out of these patterns, we need to take DO as the precise pattern. When a system is able to take this D0 as a precise pattern from a group of patterns, then that DR system is an effective DR system. I have considered it for only for load consumption. I have not considered no other parameters, right, for the discussion today, right? So load consumption pattern, out of all these n patterns, if a system is able to design this D0 as a precise pattern, then it is an effective DR system. So to devise this efficient DR system, we need to have a effective prediction techniques to predict this. To predict this precise pattern, we have to have a effective prediction technique, which is going to be a simple DNN technique, right? So system can recommend suitable solutions reflecting consumption behaviors by predicting the forthcoming consumer usage patterns. So you know how this deep learning approaches will work. Initially, it will have one pattern, right? I'm simply writing initially one pattern will be taken, and then second pattern will be taken from the consumer, third pattern will be taken from the consumer. Out of these three D0 will be predicted, right? D0 may be D1 or D2 or D3. Similarly, next pattern will be added up here, D4. Out of that, once again D0 will be selected, which may be either out of the first three or it may be the new one, right? Similarly, D5 will be added, D6 will be added. It keeps on adding. It will not stop adding the patterns. Whenever a new pattern will be adding, it will be added with the existing pattern, and it will be finding out the precise pattern out of the existing patterns and the newly added patterns, right? So that is the purpose of a deep learning or deep learning algorithms. So finally, we have to devise a precise energy consumption prediction system for any kind of smart grid or a smart residential apartment areas. This one of the technique which we have used is the deep RNN network with a gated recurrent unit. This is one algorithm which I have taken it from the reference paper. Here they have developed, the researchers have developed it for predicting the energy supply demand in the residential apartment for a small to medium duration of time. They have considered a small to medium duration of time. In that, they have predicted in a residential apartment, they have done it with a gated concept in a recurrent unit applying deep recursive neural network. They have done this one. This is one of the algorithm. In this algorithm, it consists of a 5-layered neural network. I'm not drawing the diagrams and everything. I'm not using any other parameters because it's 1.5 hours duration only. So I'm not. I'm just giving an overall picture of the things. So 5-layered neural network, they have used it in this DRNN GRU model, which consists of so many optimized hyperparameters with the normalized input. So out of this five layers, first layer will be daily hourly load consumption data samples. For the first layer, the input will be daily hourly load, right? Daily means on a single day, hourly load, 24 hours hourly load will be given as the input data samples to this input layer. They have done like this. And second layer referred to the first GRU layer, which comes from the output of this input layer to produce the output for each point of time. It will be producing the output. That will be the second layer. Third layer is the second GRU layer, which is giving the higher dimension output than the previous layer. So from the output from the input layer will be given to this first GRU layer to produce the output. Further, the higher dimension of the output will be obtained from the second GRU layer by giving the input from the output of the first GRU layer, right? And then this layer will have more number of weights and bias to have the higher dimension output. Compared to the first GRU layer, this layer will have the more number of weights and bias. So what do you mean by weights and what do you mean by the bias? Everyone will know that weights will be the weighting factor which will be added to get the precise output, and bias is the adding factor to the output value, right? And the fourth layer is the simple hidden layer which we are using it, and fifth layer is the final output layer which produces the actual prediction results. Got it clear? So this is the methodology that has been used in this DRNN GRU model, which they have done it for energy supply demand in a residential apartment for a small to the medium amount of time. And these are the 5 different layers. What is the functionality? It has been given here, right? And the second algorithm which they have used is the back propagation. Why they are using the back propagation is, it is only we can use it for a particular parameter optimization. If you want to optimize a single parameter, then back propagation is the best one. And when you are having minimum normalization and maximum normalization, if you are not able to fix it, then you can go for back propagation to train that particular parameter. We can go for this one. And sometimes overfitting issues are addressed. Overfitting issues sometimes it will address. In that case, we need to add regularization to the cost function, and by adding the regularization will be overfitting issues can be solved to the cost function. If you add the regularization parameter to the cost function, I'm talking about this one internal to the deep neural network algorithms. Whenever overfitting issues arises, we have to add the regularization parameter to the cost function, and a dropout parameter has to be applied onto the hidden layer whenever overfitting issue arises over there. And then the next one is the cooperate with the time dependencies of the data. So time dependent, it has to cooperate always. It has to cooperate with the time dependency of the data. Whenever some any historical data is whenever some data storage, whatever the data is accumulating, if something is missing out, then automatically it has to correct that data. That some data is missing. Data has to be added out. So that's why cooperation is required with the time dependencies of the data to find out the missing information, right? So in that case, back propagation will be very much helpful in doing this one, right? Next one is the whenever you are having interruptible load, managing the load. They have one researcher have done on this one. Optimized DR system is presented for managing the IL load for the time of use price list for the flexible electricity load patterns. For load management, he has used with this another type of algorithm. It employs a DRL technique. That is, DRL technique is demand response load technique with dueling deep queue network patterns, right? Dueling deep queue networks has been used for the load management purpose. So in order to have a realistic load usage, we can use this DRL technique with dueling deep queue network. What it will be using is, everyone is aware about the mathematics. It uses a Markov decision process, nothing else. It uses a Markov process. Wherever we want to manage any load parameter, we can employ a Markov decision process, which is which we can apply it for a probabilistic load. We can't able to predict the load, right? In that case, we have to model your load inputs into the form of a probabilistic nature. When you model it into the form of a probabilistic nature, your Markov process will be more helpful in making the decision, right? So what this Markov process is, which will work for a longer duration, where the inputs for this Markov decision process will be state, operation, and reward function will be designed on that one. So it's very difficult to explain in a shorter duration how it will be modeled over the Markov decision process with the help of the state, operation, and reward function. When you are comfortable with the Markov process, which we can apply it for a probabilistic approach, right? Then it will be able to apply your load management. We can apply this Markov process onto the load management, as well as this DDQN. What I have given here, DDQN. One more advantage of this DDQN organization: reduced noise and enhanced the stability of the model. So reduced noise and enhanced the stability can be achieved through this type of patterns, DDQN patterns, using Markov process, right? So that shows the instability in the convergence of DDQN is reduced. They have proved that. If you go to this paper, they have proved it, that instability has been reduced, so that automatically enhancement in the stability of the model will be increased. Finally, the model realized in that conclusion, they have realized that one is the reduction in the peak electricity consumption demand has been achieved, and the other one is cost of operation of the regulation of the voltage within a limit without compromising the safety has been done. That is, reduction in the cost of operation is also achieved within a particular limit without compromising the safety, right? So, and another researcher, I have given some 3 to 4 only. So there are a lot of things are available which we cannot complete it in a single day. And the other one model is using a multi-agent DRL model. DRL is nothing but demand response load. Demand response load model. They have made it this as a multi-agent model. Just a second. This is a multi-agent DRL model where you will be implementing a DR strategy for managing a distinct manufacturing system. For example, a battery manufacturing company is there. For that company, if any strategy, demand response strategy has to be implemented, that can be implemented through this multi-agent DRL model, which is used by here also the Markov process will come into picture, but it is called as a specifically called partially observable Markov game. It is not a complete Markov game. It is a partially observable markable game, which they will be initially formulating their manufacturing system with this partially observable Markov game. Along with that, they will add an agent called multi-agent deep deterministic policy gradient algorithm has been applied, and an optimal schedule of load consumption for every machine is designed, right? So it's a simple thing. Whatever there is a manufacturing company is there, right? In this manufacturing company, this system is initially modeled with POMG. This is modeled with POMG. Over to this POMG, we will apply an algorithm which is based on a deep learning algorithm, right? And finally, a scheduling will be prepared for the load consumption that has been employed in a manufacturing system, industrial manufacturing system. If you have done this one, where they have this researcher have done on this one multi-agent DRL mechanism over to this and done this for deployed on a battery manufacturing system. He has deployed it to evaluate the effectiveness of his manufacturing system, evaluating the manufacturing system of a battery manufacturing system. He has that researcher has employed that algorithm onto that, and he has proved that results in the simulation, not on the real-time implementation. In that particular paper, results of the simulation where the least cost of power consumption and maintained fewer production expenditures. So production expenditure is fewer production expenditure is maintained. Ultimately, the cost of the power consumption is also reduced. He has proved it simulation. He has proved it in a simulation platform, right? In comparison with the non-DR benchmark system, he has done this one, and the model enables the system to get reduced electricity consumption and instability of the grid. Also, he has done it. And this is the another researcher. He has done it on. He has developed an efficient short-term load forecasting framework, STLF. He has developed it to address the challenges presented by vigorous and stochastic consumer behavior patterns in a residential campus. So he has focused on residential campuses. Once again, he has also done with the DL technique, demand learning, deep learning technique onto the demand response. He has done it. So here, what he has done it here is he has used the electrical consumption patterns in a residential campuses. He is predicting that individual that one, and he has aggregated the different load of appliances what the consumers have used in their residential flats, and then he has correlated among them by using the DL techniques. He has done this one. And here he has done so many things. One is data acquisition, data pre-processing he has done, learning he has done, and load prediction modules he has done. Based on all these things, he has done the correlation with the various load data from the various appliances such as fans, lights, air condition, washing machine, refrigerator. From different appliances, he has computed the load and its usage. Using the multiple time series method, he has used it for the correlation purpose, right? And included that one in the entire framework called short-term load forecasting, STLF. For data aggregation he has used deep learning techniques, and for correlation he has used a multiple time series method, and both he has incorporated into the entire framework. He has done it. And here the aggregation and the learning, aggregation of the data and the learning can be done. learning can be done with the help of DNN, deep neural network, and REST block techniques. It is a residential block techniques because he has used one block in his paper. So it's called residential block technique. Is used for the learning purpose. For correlation, he has used multiple time series method, and for learning, he used DNN and the REST block techniques. And in DNN, he used one more algorithm for the grid search for hyperparameter tuning. He has used one grid search algorithm he has used for this one, and he has used a lot of sensors and lot of IoT devices in the smart grid. He has used due to so many things he has used this. So he has proved that traditional ML algorithms are incapable of extracting the trends, patterns, and the predictions. So he has compared it with the traditional machine learning algorithms with through some because here he has employed, he need to employ some sensors and other IoT devices to take the data from each residential houses from different appliances, and he has compared it with the traditional machine learning. It is very incapable of extracting the trends, which he has proved that the authors have proved that DNN, authors have proved that this algorithm, this framework, not we can say it as an algorithm, we can call it as a framework, STLF, proves that that is better capable than the traditional algorithms. And here he has told that deep learning algorithm which he has incorporated in the framework. Due to that, he has proved that the demand response plays a vital role in reducing the load of SGs during the peak hours. Now, ultimately, to effectively, you have to extract the patterns from the SG and the customer's electricity usage patterns to automate the shedding of unnecessary load during the peak hours. So, ultimately, the conclusion is DL-based models are the ideal solutions due to their scalability, right? Apart from the electrical usage patterns, DL also plays in vital roles in uncovering electricity theft. Electricity theft can be avoided, tampering of the meters can be avoided, predicting the fire accidents also can be avoided. So ultimately, not only the usage patterns of the customers, it also help, DL also helpful, that is deep learning also helpful in fire accidents, right? So now this is the final architecture of the prediction model for the aggregated power consumption data, right? So one algorithm which I have told, that one prediction model I have taken it, which consists of two sparse coding architecture, and to it a DNN has been fused. That is, DNN fusion has been done to the it two terminal sparse coding things. So it ultimately, how many steps are there? Two steps for sparse coding and one DNN fusion is there. So totally it works in 3 steps. I will show you in the picture, that is this picture. So you can see that one is clustering the data, affinity clustering. This is the power consumption data, which we can take it from the residential, industry, or the grid lines. Everywhere we can take this from the power consumption data from so many places. That is given to our framework. This framework consists of 3 steps, one for clustering and one for auto encoder, right? Now this auto encoder will be giving it to the 2 parts, right? One is encoder part and another one is the decoder part, right? So this one is the encoder part and this one is the decoder part. So totally you can see that 1, 2, and third step is this one. Got it? And third step consists of an prediction encoder and a decoder. This will have 2 units. And in these 2 units, if you take the unit of prediction which has been fused with DNN, that is the deep neural network. Got it? So whatever the algorithm I have taken it for this analysis, which consists of 3 steps. One step is for accumulating the data from the input, and second one is encoding part, auto encoder, right, which we have to classify the data, and then after classifying the data, it will be given to the prediction encoder. That is the third part will be encoder and decoder part, and this encoder part will be DNN, deep neural network, where here it will be convolutional neural network will be used, which is fused with this system. Deep neural network is fused with this system in the prediction encoder part, and you will be having the decoder part, where you will be plotting the load chart curve, right? So this is the one simple algorithm I have explained with the block diagrams, what they have used it. And this is the prediction model. I will be focusing on the prediction model. Prediction model is this one, right? So this we will be using it. Got it? So for this prediction model, the first group will be the affinity clustering, where you will be aggregating the electricity consumption data into clusters, right? Wherever the splitting data has come, it will be aggregated and it will be splitting it. Yes, please. Anything? Can I continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So from this data, aggregated data, it has to be splitted into different groups, and it will be given into the different parts to the next encoder part. So that's why affinity clustering analysis is required for the first one. From that, it will be stored in the sparse autoencoder. Right, stored load features are selected by applying the sparse autoencoder, and that will be given to the different predictor encoder blocks in the form of SPE1 and SPE2. So SPE1 is for encoder and SPE2 for decoder. So you can see that from affinity clustering analysis, it has gone to the sparse autoencoder. From the sparse autoencoder, for sparse autoencoder, it will be used for the feature selection, and from the sparse autoencoder, it will be given into two subunits, SPE1 and SPE2. SPE1 will be the encoder part, and SPE2 will be the decoder part. SPE1 will be obtaining the feature selection, and SPE2 will be used for the decoder. Whatever the power consumption in the will be computed, it will be computed as an eigenvector, and it will be converted that into a load curve. That will be done by the SPE2 block. SPE1 block will be used only for the feature selection. Please. Anything? Any clarification? Can I carry on? Please, some disturbance is there.
You can proceed, sir. You can proceed,
Right.
sir.
Thank you. So here SPE1, which I have shown you in the diagram, SPE1 is this deep neural network fusion. This will be your SPE1 prediction of the eigenvector, right? That will be done by CNN. So SPE1 will be done by CNN, and SPE2 will be done by LSTM, which I have shown in the long, before some slides I have shown you about LSTM, which is the modified version of RNN. So SPE2 will be used. So CNN will be used for improving the load accuracy in the load prediction, and LSTM will be evaluating the power consumption by a single consumer, and that will be given as the output in the form of a load chart by LSTM. So ultimately, DNNs is a fusion of CNN and LSTM to achieve both will be integrated together to achieve the fusion model. And future level fusion model is designed by these following process, right? Both the networks will be trained independently. That is, CNN will be trained independently, LSTM will be trained independently, right? Next one is condition is for this future level fusion model, this high level features from the second last layer of both the DNNs will be fused to find a new eigenvector. That is, eigenvector converting into a load chart will be the last layer. So second last layer will be the high level features from both the DNNs. That is, one from CNN, one from LSTM. will be fused to find out complete new eigenvector. This is second kind of second kind of process we need to consider. That is, one is both CNN and LSTM will be trained independently, and second one is high level features from the second last layer of DNNs will be fused together to find out a new eigenvector. Now this new completely connected fusion layer is added to obtain a new load eigenvector. That is, whatever the data we got it from CNN, second last layer. This is second last layer, right? From CNN and LSTM, both will be fused together. This is fusion will be done. Then new eigenvector will be computed. Got it? And both this CNN and LSTM both will be trained independently. Both will be trained independently. Right? So only since the fusion is done at the second last layer, only this layer will be getting trained in this step, which is a joint training. But the remaining layers, the training will be done independently. And ultimately, once this new load eigenvector has been found out, then the decoder of the autoencoder will be generating the forthcoming power graphs of the next day. That is the load power graph. Power load will be computed, and final load prediction can be evaluated by adding up the predicted group data. So for the first day, it has been computed. The predicted power load has been computed. When the second day, the same. Can I just share a screen? The reason is I need to draw it over there. So just a minute. Let me share the screen first.
And one more question in the chat box, sir.
Yes, the same problem can be solved
Yes,
by
yes.
MLPN with high accuracy and also with the CNN. Then now why to use 2 DNN to make fusion vector, and the fusion at which layer has to be done? Yeah, it's a good question, right? Just a minute. I will take my pad over there. My screen is visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so just I'm sharing the screen. So just a minute. I have to put the screen, the slideshow to use my screen. Right. Now you are having an input layer here, and you are having an output layer, right? Now what will happen is, in between that we need to add the hidden layers. Got it? So if you are using a single hidden layer, what will happen is, if you do the training over here, the training will be done in this place. Hidden layer will be doing the training. Got it? Now what will happen is, when you are training an input with a single hidden layer, if you are training it, automatically what will happen is, we are giving this information, training the data set with this single layer. Automatically what you are getting is, you will be getting a 78% accuracy. You cannot improve this accuracy with this single hidden layer, right? Similarly, you are going to train this data set will be within this hidden layer. Now what will happen is, when you are adding the number of hidden layers, when you are adding the number of hidden layers, like hidden layer 1, hidden layer 2, and then hidden layer 3, when we add like this, right? Now what will happen is, when you train the data with this hidden layer, we will have some trained output over here. We will have a trained output over here. This trained output will be going for another training over here. So when you train that trained output, automatically here you will the output what we are getting is of higher dimension. And ultimately, when you further train this higher dimension output with further training, we will get the further precise output you will be getting at the output layer. After this, the output layer will be there. You will be getting the further precise output out this layer. But the major problem in this one is the complexity is increased. Right? So directly we cannot go for every application. We no need to go for DNN. No need to go for the DNN. Where we require, so whatever the number of layers, what we are going to take it based on your precise output, what we require it, right? So for example, you require a less accurate output. In that case, we can go with a single hidden layer. We no need to go with that one, right? So that's why this is very much required. When we are targeting about this one, choosing of hidden layers is depends on your how much precise output is required. Otherwise, if you increase the number of layers, complexity will increase. If complexity is increased, then it is also another drawback. If complexity increases, whenever we are having any problems over there, troubleshooting will become very difficult, right? Wherever you require highly precise output, then only we have to go for the complex structure of DNN, right? The same question has been applicable to that. When you are fusing two things, right? What will happen is when you are increasing your complexity of the structure, automatically you will be facing some other trouble. So directly you cannot increase the complexity. So whenever you want to have some precise output for some application, then we need to go for the particular thing. Is it okay? Thank you. Thank you all.
Hello, lecture is over or yet continue?
We'll wait for a few minutes. I think unfortunately he is disconnected.
Please ask sir to share that PPT and paper reference where this kind of
Oh yeah, he will come back. Please ask him.
and data for smart grid if any websites available.
Okay, just a minute, please. I have to. He will come back. Sir, some questions from audience, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir. Some questions from audience.
Yeah, please. Any
Kalpesh, sir.
Please share that paper where this kind of two networks are used making fusion for this problem. If you have any IEEE or Spinzer or Nature, whatever.
I am not that much. Question is not that much audible. I am not able to get it.
Sir, if that research paper is with you, please share with us.
Sure.
And
I will
please
share you
suggest
the
some
research paper. Definitely, I will share you the research paper with you.
website for smart grid data. If there are any websites, link.
Smart grid data. I am not completely working on smart grid data. I am just working on the deep neural networks.
Even if load forecasting if there is data available, then also please suggest.
Sure. Definitely, I will share that with you. With the team, with the FDP organizing team members, I will share the details, everything with them. You can collect it from the FDP organizing team.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of Karen College of Engineering, Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering Department. Thank you for your wonderful presentation, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I am Venkatesan speaking, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Venkatesan, sir.
Yes, sir.
We have been associated with the long time duration now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Last year, the same time you had come.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah, once again, thank you all. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to deliver a lecture on deep learning in smart grid. So, thank you, Department of Electronics and Electrical and Electronics Engineering of KLN College of Engineering and Technology for organizing such an wonderful faculty development program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The participants are requested to assemble again at 2 p.m. for well rectification function. The information already posted in our WhatsApp group. Please refer. Thank you.